So, hello students, a very good morning to all, and I hope your preparation is going well. And yes, today I am back with some new important current affairs for prelims of April 8th. So, let's start our discussion. Of April 8th. Okay, so here are the important topics for today. So today we shall be discussing three important topics. First is about the Plastic Waste Management Amendment Rules 2026. Second is recently Amravati was declared as the permanent capital of Andhra Pradesh. So very important from prelims as well as mains perspective. And third is the removal of Chief Election Commissioner of India. So all these three topics are very important for the exam. So please focus. And finally, we will be having a practice question. So first of all, let's discuss about the Plastic Waste Management Amendment Rules. So the earlier rules were notified in 2016, same as the Solid Waste Management Rules. So for Solid Waste Management Rules also, earlier rules were of 2016 and now the new rules we have of 2026. So similarly, some new amendments based on the requirement of the time have been made in Plastic Waste Management Rules also. So first important thing about these rules is you have to remember the act, under which act these rules are notified. So these rules are notified under Environment Protection Act of 1986. This is the first important thing. Now, quickly, let's discuss the key features of the plastic waste management rules. So all the features, see, we shall be discussing all the features, but the ones which are important for the exam, I will be repeating them again. So please focus. So here are the key features of the plastic waste management rules. So first important feature is the mandatory recycled content targets. So under this act, where plastics are categorized under various categories like the rigid plastic, flexible plastic, multi-layered plastic. So see, all these categories of plastics have different degree of recyclability. Like the rigid plastics are more easily recyclable than the multi-layered plastic. So in 2016 rules, there were certain percentages that in these kind of plastics, this particular percentage must be used as the recycled plastic. So the percentage have been increased in these rules. So if we talk about the mandatory recycled content targets, so the producers, importers and brand owners, please focus, all these three are now responsible. Producers, importers and brand owners must use a fixed share of recycled plastic in packaging. So if we talk about the first category, so first category is about the rigid plastic. Rigid plastic means the hard plastics which are used in chairs, in buckets, all these kind are the rigid plastics. So rigid plastics have very good recyclability. So earlier the target to use the rigid plastic was 30%, that whenever you make any article of rigid plastic, 30% of the material must be the recycled one. So now it has to be brought to 60% by 28-29. You can remember this for the rigid plastic. Earlier it was 30%, now it is 60%. If we talk about the category 2 of the flexible plastic means kind of soft plastic. For example, it is used in water bottles, all the polythene bags. These are the flexible plastic. So they have a bit lower degree of recyclability than the rigid plastic. That's why their percentage is also low. So earlier the target was 10%, that in every product of the flexible plastic, 10% material must be recycled. So now it has to be increased to 20%. So see, can you see here, rigid plastic was easily recyclable, hence the target was high, and flexible plastic has low recyclability, hence the target is low. Coming to the category 3, so which is of multi-layered plastic, that means the plastics which have various layers, for example of polythene, of aluminium foil or paper, like you see the tetra packs. So tetra packs are the example of multi-layered plastic. So they have very low recyclability. That's why earlier the percentage was 5% and now it has been increased to 10%. So you can remember these percentages, and you must know that what are the examples of rigid plastic, flexible plastic, as well as multi-layered plastic. Now let's quickly revise the category of plastic which we have discussed. Just a second. Okay, so this was the category 1 plastic, which were the rigid plastics. Here I have given the examples also, like the PET containers. Earlier the target was 30%. For 2025 it was, and now the target is 60%. If we talk about the category 2, so for 2025-26 it's 10%, and now it has to be changed to 20%. And similarly for the category 3, for the multi-layered plastic, it has to be changed from 5% to 10%. So these are some of the important percentages. Now let's discuss second point. So first point was about the recyclability. Now second point is about the reusability. So second point is about the reuse obligation. So in these 2026 amendment rules, reuse obligations are introduced. So what are the reuse obligations? So reuse includes 10% for the small containers and 70% for the large water packaging, and 10% for large non-water packaging. So it is talking about that what percentage of plastic has to be used in what kind of containers. So every percentage is not easy to remember, but at least you must have an idea that there are obligations for recyclability also, and obligations for reusability also. Now let's talk about the third point. Third point is about the carry forward of the compliance target. See, it is a very good initiative, because earlier, if the companies fail to meet the targets of the reusability or recyclability, then they were penalized for that. So that was not the good thing. But a new initiative has been introduced here, that if they are not able to meet the targets, they can carry forward the targets for the next 3 years. So the uncompleted thing they can complete in the upcoming 3 years. So this is very important thing, that now they will not be penalized. Next important thing is about the tradable certificate mechanism. So see, for example, this is company A and this is company B. Both these companies have the obligations for reusability and recyclability. For example, company A has reached its target and it has reused or recycled more products than was notified by the government. So what it will do, it will trade its extra certificates with company B. So in this way, the company which had the shortfall of the targets, so company B will also be able to complete the targets. And second, company B will not have to make the extra efforts to reuse or recycle its own products, because they were already done by the A in surplus, and now that certificates are traded to B. So this is important thing. So here you have to remember about that the tradable certificate mechanism has also been mentioned in the plastic waste management rules. Next important thing is about the exemptions for the regulated sectors. See, here, as I have already discussed, that there is certain percentage for the rigid plastic, for the flexible plastic, etc. But plastics are used in the other categories also. For example, food substances, where the government authorities have banned the use of plastic. So they are exempted. So there no percentage will be applied here, either 10% or 20%. Next, coming to the clear definitions and the regulatory clarity. So it is very important. This important thing is that various kind of terms have been clearly defined. So UPSC can ask the question, the word end of life disposal or the word reusability or recyclability has been clearly defined in the plastic waste management rules. So is it correct or incorrect? So obviously it's correct. So you have to remember this, that clear definitions have been provided for the terms like reuse, end of the life disposal, plastic waste processes, etc. So briefly, we shall be discussing what all definitions are given. Next important thing is about the quality standards and labeling norms. That means, for example, you are making this bottle. For example, this is a shampoo bottle. Okay. This is a shampoo bottle, and this shampoo bottle you made using recyclable plastic. So you have to put a label on this bottle that it is made using recyclable plastic and it's comply with the Indian standards. So a label is mandatory. Next important thing is the digital monitoring and decentralized enforcement. Meaning for this is, see, as we have already read in the solid waste management rules also, that there were the mandatory restrictions for the bulk waste generators, that they have to collect the waste, they have to process the waste, and they have to conduct the audit also. And for all those things there was a no a central monitoring mechanism. So same thing here is also there, that whether all the stakeholders are doing their duty or not. So there is a digital monitoring mechanism, and all the local authorities have been given the powers to enforce all the rules and regulations. So briefly, let's discuss the definitions which are given in the Act. So first is about the recycling. So basically recycling means one form of plastic, one form of plastic has been converted into new product. This was the earlier definition. You have to remember that in 2026 amendment rules, recycling also means generating energy. So now recycling means two things: transforming waste into new product, and second, generating energy. Now what is the meaning of end of life disposal product? So its meaning is you are using the waste for energy recovery, and second, you can use for energy recovery, you can use for road construction. Basically you have to dispose the product in the sustainable manner. Next, coming to plastic waste processors. So who are the plastic waste processors? The people who are involved both in recycling also and end of life disposal products also. So you have to remember this also. What is the meaning of reuse? Reuse means you are using the same material again and again, and you are not changing the structure of that material, because in recycling a new product is formed, but in reuse you are not forming a new product, but you are using same material again and again. So these were the important definitions which could have created the confusion in the exam. Now, next important article is very important from polity perspective. So the article is about recently Amravati was declared as the permanent capital of Andhra Pradesh. So here political news is not important for you, but important articles in the constitution, important acts under which Amravati is declared as the capital of Andhra Pradesh, all these things are important for the exam. So line by line, first of all, we will be discussing what is the history, what act was brought, and what debates took place, and finally we will be discussing some of the constitutional provisions. So first of all, let us discuss. Yes. So let us discuss the background in brief. So the overall issue of bifurcation of Andhra Pradesh originated in 2014, when Andhra Pradesh and Telangana got bifurcated. So Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act 2014 was enacted, and it was enacted under Article 3 of the Constitution. Please remember this Article 3. We shall be discussing in detail also in upcoming slides. So this act was enacted by the Parliament under Article 3 of the Constitution. And what were the provisions of the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act 2014? So these were some of the important provisions. So here Telangana would be created as a separate state, which was done in 2014. Next important thing was Hyderabad would act as a joint capital for Telangana as well as Andhra Pradesh for 10 years. That means till 2024, Hyderabad would be joint capital for both the states. Now, after 2024, Hyderabad would become the exclusive capital of Telangana, which is at present the capital of Telangana, and then Andhra Pradesh would have to create its own capital. These were the important provisions of the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act 2014. Now, as Andhra Pradesh knew that in 2024 it has to create the new capital. So in the response of that, Andhra Pradesh has identified that now Amravati will be our new capital, and we will develop Amravati as a greenfield capital. Greenfield capital means you are building something from scratch, from zero. You are not changing the existing infrastructure, you are creating a city from zero, you are developing each and everything there. So first important thing was that it was thought that Amravati would be created as a greenfield capital. And how it was supposed to be created? It was supposed to be created under land pooling scheme. That means, for example, if you want to create a city here and you want various kind of infrastructures, then you want your own land here, and there were various farmers who had the land in this area. So under land pooling scheme, the land of these farmers were taken in this area, and as a compensation they were given plots in some other area. So this was the meaning of land pooling scheme, that in this area land was pooled, and how it was pooled, it was taken from the farmers, and in return a compensation was given. So this was the overall background. Okay, now let's briefly discuss each and everything what happened. So if we start from pre 2019, so what happened? That since Andhra Pradesh knew that in 2024 it would be needing a new capital, so the effort started to create a new capital. So the efforts were to create a greenfield capital. So it was decided that state will be having a single capital, and that was Amravati. Now what happened in 2019? A new government proposal came, and proposal was that we will create a three capital model. Three capital model means Vishakhapatnam, Amravati, and Kurnool will act as the different units for the administration and the governance. So this happened in 2019, but the response was not very good, and it led to the protest and legal challenges. What was the reason for that? See, Supreme Court also had to intervene. Andhra Pradesh, sorry, High Court has to intervene in this. The reason for that was, see, you were creating the capital under a land pooling scheme, and you already committed the farmers that you will get your land back. And now in between, you are saying that I will create the three new capitals. So it's not good for the farmers. No, you have already committed that you will give the land back. So that's why there were huge debates and legal protests. And finally, this is the present status, that finally we are returned to a single capital policy, and Amravati has been reinstated as the sole capital. So this is the present thing. So I think in this way, we discussed the overall evolution of Andhra Pradesh capital issue. Now let's discuss the key features of this new act. What are the key features here? So key features are that this act amends the 2014 act, and it has recognized Amravati as the sole and permanent capital of Andhra Pradesh. Second important thing, it says that for UPSC, this thing is not important, but at least you must have an idea that Act has clarified that Amravati will also include the areas notified under AP Capital Regional Development Authority Act 2014. So this thing has been clearly mentioned. Very important thing for exam perspective is this amendment has given the retrospective effect from June to 2024. So a very good question can be asked from here, that any act can be given effect from the previous date. It's not like it's enacted today, then it will have effect from today only. From previous date also that act will have in force. Now let's discuss the constitutional dimensions, because see, we discussed the evolution, we discussed the debates, etc., etc., but not everything is important for the exam. So now let's come to the prelims perspective, what all things can be asked in prelims. So about the constitutional dimensions, here important thing for you to note is the Article 3. Article 3 and the parliamentary authority. See, yes. So under Article 3, the power to reorganize state lies with the parliament. So very important thing. Who has the authority to reorganize the state? Parliament. So see, Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act 2014 was enacted by the parliament only. So now if the amendments has to be made, if any particular capital has to be set up, then it also has to go through the parliamentary channel. So the overall authority to recognize any state lies with the parliament. You have to remember that. and you have to know the exact meaning, exact content given in the article 3 also. So we will discuss this also. Second important thing is absence of explicit constitutional provision. That means there is nowhere mentioned in the constitution that how a capital of particular state has to be determined or has to be established. So all these things are dependent on the laws made by the parliament. So two important things: who has the authority to recognize the state or the state capital? That is the parliament. Second, there is no specific mention in the constitution that how a particular capital of any state will be determined. Now, let's discuss the exact language of Article 3 of the Constitution of India. Very, very important for the prelims. So, Article 3 talks about the formation of new states or alteration of areas of boundaries or names of the existing states. So, important thing here is Article 3 focuses on the existing states. So, from that existing state, you can create a new state also, you can alter the area also, you can change the boundary, change the name, etc. So here, who has the authority to do all these things? Parliament. So Parliament can form a new state. Parliament can increase the area of any state. Parliament can diminish the area of any state, alter the boundaries or alter the name of any state. So all these things can be done by the Parliament, and under the same article, Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act was enacted. So you have to remember this. Now, second important thing which related to Article 3 is any bill related to Article 3 cannot be introduced in any house of the parliament without the recommendation of the president. So, if there is any bill which is related to change in boundary, creation of new state, change in the name of any state or territory, so a bill related to that thing can be introduced only on the recommendation of the parliament. Second important thing is if that bill is related to change in area, change in boundary, name, etc., then president has to refer that bill to the state legislature. This is also important. That bill will be referred by the president to state legislature, and president will define that in what time period state legislatures have to respond. Next very important thing is it's not important for the president or parliament to mandatorily take the recommendations of the state legislature. They can accept also or they can reject also. So these are the important things about Article 3. Now please answer in the comment section that what is the difference between Article 2 of the Constitution and Article 3 of the Constitution. So please give your answer in the comment section. Now, about since we are talking about Amravati, so it has the historical importance also. So let's briefly discuss this, because question can be asked in the history part also, and it can be asked in the polity part also. So first important historical importance is related to the capital of Satavahanas dynasty, because it used to be the capital of Satavahanas. Second important thing is, since the name Amravati, so it is related to Amravati School of Art. We read the Gandha School of Art, Mathura School of Art. So Amravati is a important center of Amravati School of Art, and it is main Buddhist learning center also because it houses Amravati Stupa. Next important thing is about the religious pluralism, because see, we discussed about the Buddhist learning center. It is also important center for the Hinduism, because it is home to Amreshwara temple, which is one of the 5 sacred Pancharama Kshetrams. Pancharama Kshetrams are related to Lord Shiva, and all 5 Kshetrams are in the state of Andhra Pradesh only. Next important thing is about the Hyun Sang visit. So you have to remember this, that Hyun Sang visited in Amravati. Maybe you do not remember the year, but at least you must remember that he visited. Which Chinese scholar visited Amravati? It was Hyun Sang. Let's briefly go through the location also of Amravati. So Amravati is located at the banks of river Krishna. This you have to remember. And yes, this is the location. So this is Amravati. This is Vijayawada, Krishna, Guntur. So these are some of the nearby districts. So now Amravati has become the permanent capital of Andhra Pradesh and Hyderabad is the capital of Telangana. Now, next important article for polity is the removal of Chief Election Commissioner of India. So recently, the news was the motion was discussed for the removal of Chief Election Commissioner, but the notice was introduced, but it was rejected by the chairpersons of Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. So because of that, it becomes important that you must know the procedure that how Chief Election Commissioner can be removed. So before discussing the removal procedure, please answer in the comment section that who appoints Chief Election Commissioner. Here we will discuss that how the removal process works. You have to answer in the comment section that who appoints Chief Election Commissioner of India. Now let's start the discussion for the removal procedure. Okay, so first important thing is removal of Chief Election Commissioner follows a quasi-judicial process. Quasi-judicial means it is a kind of judicial process which is done by judiciary like the Supreme Court or High Court, but it is not exactly same as the judicial procedure. That's why we call as quasi judicial. It means that any judgment will be given based on the evidence only, like is done in the other courts, but it is not the actual court. That's why we call as quasi judicial. And the removal process of CEC is similar to the removing of judges of Supreme Court. Second important thing. Third important thing is which act governs the removal procedure. So it is Judges Inquiry Act of 1968. First, it is a quasi-judicial process. Second, CEC can be removed as the judges of Supreme Court. And which act governs it? So it is governed by Judges Inquiry Act of 1968. Now, let's start the complete procedure. And in the end, we shall be revising through a flow chart also, so that everything will become crystal clear. So first of all, what will happen? A removal motion will be introduced in any house of the parliament. So first of all, a removal motion will be introduced. And this removal motion can be introduced in any house of the parliament, either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. And this removal motion has to be signed by 100 members of Lok Sabha and 50 members of Rajya Sabha. You have to remember this number. First thing, it can be introduced in either house. Second thing, it has to be signed by 100 members of Lok Sabha and 50 members of Rajya Sabha. So this is very important. Now, after the motion has been signed, it will be submitted to the presiding officer. So presiding officer like the speaker for Lok Sabha or the chairperson for the Rajya Sabha. Very important thing here is the speaker or chairperson may admit the motion or refuse the motion. See, here in the context we discussed, the context was that the chairpersons rejects the notice seeking the CEC removal. That means the chairpersons have the power to admit the motion or to refuse the motion. Now, a condition, if the motion is admitted, a 3-member committee will be formed. And who will be the members of that committee? Any judge of Supreme Court, Chief Justice of High Court, and a distinguished jurist. And this 3-member committee will investigate all the charges which are imposed on CEC. Now, that committee will decide whether a motion can be dropped or the no charges are proved. So if charges are proved, the procedure will continue, and if charges are not proved, the process will drop. Now, if committee finds Chief Election Commissioner guilty of misbehavior or incapacity, so these are the 2 grounds on which judges of Supreme Court, judges of High Court, and Chief Election Commissioner can be removed: misbehavior or incapacity. So if CEC is found guilty of all these 2 things, report is submitted to the house where the motion was originally introduced. So for example, it was introduced first in Lok Sabha, then the committee will submit the motion to the house in Lok Sabha. Now, since the motion will be first submitted to the house in which it was introduced, so first it will be passed in first house with the special majority and then with the second house. So basically both the houses of the parliament have to pass the motion with special majority. Special majority means majority of total membership of the house, that is 50% of total strength of the house plus 2/3 of members present and voting. So this special majority is needed to remove chief election commissioner. Now, if both the two houses have passed the motion, then the address will be presented to the president, and if president gives the final assent, then finally chief election commissioner or judges of Supreme Court or judges of High Court can be removed. Now, what all we discussed, let's revise briefly. It will be very good by revising through this flow chart. So we start, just a second. Okay. So everything starts by a removal motion, and removal motion can be introduced in either house of the parliament. Now, if motion is introduced in Lok Sabha, then 100 members have to sign. If motion is introduced in the Rajya Sabha, then 50 members have to sign. Now, if in Lok Sabha, the motion will be presented to speaker. In Rajya Sabha, motion will be presented to chairperson. So if it is submitted to the presiding officer, now if presiding officer rejects the motion, then motion is dropped and everything ends. If the motion is accepted by the presiding officer, then the speaker or chairman will form a 3-member committee consisting of judge of Supreme Court, chief justice of High Court, and distinguished jurist. Now the committee will investigate, and chief election commissioner has the right to defend himself. Now, if all the charges are not proved, motion will drop. And if charges are proved and CEC is found guilty, then the reported will be submitted to the house where it was originally introduced. Then voting will happen in the both the houses of the parliament using special majority. So this is the special majority. Now, if both the houses do not pass the motion, again the motion can be dropped. If both the houses pass the motion, then it is presented to the president, and if president gives his or her assent, then CEC can be finally removed. So I think you can take the screenshot of this flow chart, because revising through this flow chart will be very easy, I think. So I think everything we discussed through this flow chart. Okay. Now this is a practice question for you, a very simple question. So the question is, who among the following has the authority to grant formal legal recognition to the new capital of the state? So either it is president, prime minister, parliament, or Supreme Court. So please go read the question once again. Read all the matter which we discussed under the Amravati as a capital topic, and try to answer this question. So yes, I think these three were the important topics for today. If you have any doubt, you can write in the comment section. Else, yes. So that's all from my side for today.